Hi guys, this is Joel Kennedy with Kennedy Violins. Today I'm just going to do a quick video to give you a little bit of advice on what rosin to choose if you're more of a beginner type player. Now chances are if you purchased a beginner type of instrument, it probably already came with some rosin, but maybe you broke it, or maybe you lost it, or maybe you just want to get something a little bit more spiffy looking. Well, that's fine. So today I'm just going to give you a couple helpful hints to kind of lead you in the right direction. So probably the most important thing to remember is that it's not really that important which rosin you buy. If you're more of a beginner type of player, you simply don't have the skill set yet to make a big difference on which rosin you purchase. The fact of the matter is there's a million different rosins out there, and there's a huge differential between the less expensive ones and the more expensive ones, and they're all a little bit different. But the fact of the matter is you don't really have the skill set to really take advantages of those differences. But there's still a few things that you can consider when buying a rosin as a beginner type player, so that's what this video is for. Now there's only two primary things to kind of keep in mind when you're buying a rosin. Okay, so number one is you want to try to get a rosin that has a hard plastic container of some sort. Hopefully there's some pictures here or here that can give you some visual representations of that. The reason why you want a plastic hard exterior to the rosin is because, number one, it prevents the rosin from getting on your fingers. You don't want to get rosin on your fingers. You want to keep it just on your bow, because if you get rosin on your fingers and then it makes your fingers sticky and it's hard to remove, then you get rosin on your violin and then it makes it look ugly and it makes it harder to play. So you want to protect the rosin from your fingers. The other reason is having that hard exterior also kind of helps you not destroy the rosin. And it's very easy to break rosin, crack it, whatever. So it just gives you a little bit of protection. The second most important thing to remember is you want to gravitate towards the lighter colored rosins. Why? Well, because the lighter colored rosins tend to be less aggressive. So they tend to be a little harder, they're a little bit less sticky. So it takes a little bit more effort to get a certain amount of rosin on your bow. Well, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to work harder? Well, as a general rule, it's more difficult to produce the sound that you want when you're a beginner, and it's easy to produce a scratchy kind of gross sound. Well, if you've got too much rosin on your bow, then it will produce a sound that you don't want. Or to look at a different way, if you have a higher skill level, you can use a more aggressive rosin, but you have the skill set to be able to kind of handle that more aggressive rosin and the more sound that it produces and the way the bow draws across the string and everything. So it's probably in your best interest to start out with a lighter rosin, because it just makes it easier for you to, not put too much on the bow. The other reason why you don't want to put too much on the bow is because if you put too much on the bow, well, then you have excess rosin that will come off of the bow, and then of course it gets everywhere. It makes your violin look ugly, and it makes your bow look ugly, and so it's just a good idea to get a rosin that's not going to create excess dust. Okay, so now just talk a little bit about some rosins that you can purchase. There's a million different kinds, but here's just a short list to give you an idea of some rosins that are just really popular. Now there's tons of different light rosins that you can buy, but here are just a couple different rosins that we use. So the Giuliani rosin comes with pretty much all of our beginner type of violins, and it works really well. It's really inexpensive if you lose it or break it. Another very popular rosin in the industry is a rosin from the D'Addario company. It's an American company, and they have a lot of great rosins that are really good for the money. Probably the most popular and least expensive is the light rosin. It's a natural light rosin. So it's very similar to the Giuliani rosin, and they usually run from maybe $3 or $4. Now, another popular rosin that we actually send out with all our intermediate type of violins is the Kaplan Art Craft rosin. Now, they run about $6 or $7, and it doesn't have a plastic sleeve around it, but it does come with a really large felt cloth that you can easily use to hold the cake of rosin so you don't get the rosin on your hand, and it kind of provides some protection as well for the rosin, just because it's so easy to wrap it around the cake. And the cake is pretty big. Now the Kaplan Art Craft, they come in a light or a dark, so you still have the choice of getting a light or the dark. Probably the dark is more popular. I would guess it's just a little bit stickier than the light one, and it kind of looks cool, And so if you want to delve into getting a little bit more aggressive rosin, you want to get a little bit more premium, then I highly recommend that particular rosin. Okay, so the next couple rosins I'll mention are more at the professional level, and it might not be applicable to your situation, but hey, if you want to splurge and you want to try them out, a really popular rosin is the Hill series of rosins. Now there's a light and a dark, and they've been around for a long time. Probably the most popular one is going to be the dark one. And you can get them just about anywhere. And they run about $9 or $10, kind of depending on where you go. And they're considered professional quality. And a lot of professionals actually use this rosin, even though it's been around for decades, I think. And it's just a great all-around rosin that's a little bit more aggressive than the Kaplan rosin. Now, the last rosin that I'll mention will be any rosin from the Parastro company. Now, they have a bunch of rosins. There's 4 or 5 of them that are really popular in particular. They all pretty much look the same with the exception of the color and the color of the box that they come in and the color of the rosin. They all have a slightly different characteristics. They run probably about $16 or $17, kind of depending on where you buy them. They've been around for a long time, and they're a perennial favorite amongst a lot of professionals. So it's a very easy way to try out a lot of different types of rosin within the same company and not spend a whole lot of money. But of course, you're going to want to be careful with the cake because, $16 or $17 when you're pushing 20 bucks and, you don't want to break it, right? Okay, so that's about it. Now there's a huge amount of rosins that you can get, and there's plenty of rosins that I didn't mention in the video, ones that I personally use. And the range of rosins that you can get, I mean, they go from $2 or $3 up into the hundreds of dollars, if you can believe that, for rosins. And they're all a little bit different, but like I said before, the most important thing is make sure that it's really practical. So it's got that sleeve around it to keep it from getting on your fingers and to offer some protection. They're inexpensive, so you as an inexperienced user who has a higher probability of dropping it or breaking it or something like that, it's not going to cost you a lot of money to replace, and it's going to be a little bit easier and make it easier for you to learn the violin. Now in the future, I'm going to do another video where I go a little bit more in depth about all the different types of rosins and some of the ones that I recommend, especially if you're an advanced player. But that's about it for today. And don't forget to subscribe. Now that our pandemic is over and everything else, I'm getting more into making videos now. So if you like this kind of content, make sure that you like and subscribe the video because there's a whole bunch more to come. And don't forget, here at Kennedy Violins, we're all players and teachers, and we're always happy to answer any kind of questions that you guys have. Have a great day.